We can talk about this now with the Prime Minister, Bill English. Good morning.
Good morning.
Is Orangi Tamariki being expected to work within existing funding, and for how long?
No, there's been considerable new funding added over the last budget and this budget. I think over the next 3 or 4 years, getting up to $300 million, recognising that there'll be a long-term payoff for doing the job well, starting with those children in state care, but broadening it into the much larger group of children who are to some extent at risk.
How much more money is it going to need in this year's budget?
Well, the budget discussion's going on now, but I would expect over time there'll be the request for more, and they've got a much better toolkit now for making the case that an investment now will pay off in the long term. Some of these children we know will cost $1 million by the time they get to age 30. That's a lot of misery. Where
do you think the money should go to within that system? Should it be going to the carers? Should it be going to social workers? Where does it go?
Well, look, the Minister could give you a better picture of that in detail. And the very positive thing about this ministry is that you've now got a broad range of people, including those who work at the front line, working through all those issues, trying things out that are new, and some things have been tried already and found successful changes. So as they see the gaps, because I'm sure there will be gaps, then I'm sure they'll come to government for money.
Carers getting $200 a week though, which seems like a pretty low level. Is that an area that you personally would be interested in looking at to ramp up?
Well, again, we'll take advice from the sector. We do ask an awful lot of the carers, and many of them are dealing with the most complex children in our community, and I'm sure they will have views, as the children will, because a distinctive part of this ministry is the strong voice of the young people. They were there at the launch. They've been part of the discussions for the last 2 years. And they'll have a view about the balance of where the resource should go, to carers or to support services for the carers, rather than cash in the pocket. We'll hear from them. But
you wouldn't rule out putting more money directly into people's pockets in that way?
Well, look, I wouldn't rule anything out. This is a big process of change. The government's listening very carefully. Everyone's headed in the right direction. They know there's a lot at stake.
Considering recruitment and retention of social workers too, is that level of salary, I think it goes up to about $70,000 for a social worker, is that something that you're going to have to address as well to get the right people to do this work that is so valuably needed?
Well, again, you wouldn't want to rule out any possibility just for the reason that it is the way it's always been. That's, I think, a critical stance about the attitude with this change, that whatever was there, a lot of it did work reasonably well. Some of it didn't. We can do a lot better, and we're not going to take any of the tools off the table.
Okay. While you're here as well, if I could also talk to you about hit and run, the allegations being levelled towards the SAS in Afghanistan. You were waiting on further information from the New Zealand Defence Force. Is that something you've been able to view yet?
Not yet. That's shown up on Friday, as I understand it, with the Minister of Defence. We'll be discussing that as soon as possible and making an announcement shortly.
When you say as soon as possible, is that something likely to be spoken about at Cabinet today?
Well, I'll certainly be discussing it today with the Minister.
Does the information also include, for example, the video footage that was talked about last Monday by Lieutenant General Tim Keating?
I've yet to see, but as I understand it, there has been work done on whether that's available or not available.
Okay, so that may be something you're going to be able to see today. When is it that the public will be able to know whether there is to be any further investigation or inquiry here?
Well, I'd hope we could make an announcement in the next few days.
Okay, that announcement, are you able to give us any sense at all whether, or any step down the road that you may be taking on this? Is it a flat no, or is it something that perhaps the lawyers representing the villagers may be happy with?
Well, as I've said a few times already, given the fundamental problems with the allegations, it's unlikely to be an inquiry into war crimes.
At this stage, have you seen anything that constitutes evidence that is a distinct rebuttal of the allegations made in the book?
Well, I've seen the material that the Chief of Defence Force presented publicly, and that rebuts quite a number of the allegations.
Seems to confirm quite a lot of it as well, though.
Well, that's arguable. In my view, it rebuts pretty basic stuff like where did this happen, which raises a question of what the stories about the details of bodies being found in certain places or soldiers being in certain places where they simply could not have been. And then a bit further evidence later in the week surfacing that about some of the details in the book which just couldn't match, what the New Zealand forces were doing.
Is this something that you're uncomfortable about, these allegations being raised and the fact that it's not something that is able to be put to bed easily?
Look, people are going to raise allegations. That's part of public discussion about and accountability for government. But in the end, someone has to make a call about whether the evidence stacks up for a significant inquiry, because there's no doubt that an inquiry into war crimes would be of international significance, not just national significance. And we've always held our armed forces to high standards, and they've always met them. A lot of people wouldn't realise that even now they have lawyers often deployed, if not actually with them, then certainly overviewing the operation. So, they're subject to enormous scrutiny.
And certainly that was something spoken about by Lieutenant General Keating at the conference last Monday. On that score, though, he said he would be open to an inquiry. It would be something he would be quite happy with, essentially. You wouldn't want an inquiry, though, in the run-up to the election, would you?
Look, these are serious allegations. I don't think the election timing's got much bearing on it. We'll get the official CDF advice today and consider it from there.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in. That's the Prime Minister, Bill English, on Morning Report. 27 minutes to 8 now.